Welcome back, everybody. JumpX podcast, episode number 64 with Austin Young. And today we're talking about why traditional periodization is shit.
Well, that's an overstatement. It's not shit, but uh it's overrated, like 100%, especially just in terms of what we do. And just in terms of like dunk
Yep.
training, dunk specific training or jump specific training, right?
Mhm.
Um, so what's been your experience with this, Tom? We'll
Uh,
touch on that firstly.
I don't think I've actually ever done the whole like strength and go to power and then go to speed. Like, do a month of each. I don't think I've ever done that. So I don't think I've really had experience doing that. I've always kind of focused on, obviously, I still focus on certain things at certain times, but I'm still doing a lot at the same time. Like I'm not only just doing strength, I'm not only doing power, you know? It's always been a mix.
Yeah. 100%. Just to clarify, some people listening probably don't know what periodization is, but it's just a way of structuring. It's a formal way of structuring your training, essentially.
Mm.
All right, that's what we're referring to. Um, but yeah, go on. Sorry, man.
No, that's pretty much what I was gonna say. Like I've just never really done that and I don't really agree with it, especially if you're a dunker or a
Why didn't
basketball,
you? Why didn't you agree with it?
just for myself or in general for like everyone, do you think?
Both.
I guess the answer is the same. It's just like, it's gonna take more than 1 month to focus on equality and actually get yeah, you might get a little bit stronger or a little bit more powerful within that cycle, but to actually make like significant changes, you're not going to give yourself enough time. I was like, oh, you do a month of strength, maybe you put half a kilo on your back squat or something, but like really, unless you're like super well trained, like half a kilo is really not that much. Like you'd probably want to be able to put on like 5 to 10 kilos, but that's not going to take a month unless you're like genetic freak or you just like really new to squatting, whatever. But it actually will take a couple months. So if you do want to do a strength phase, you probably want to,
Yeah,
yeah, get
we
longer.
actually do need to clarify. Like when we're talking about like normal periodization, right? You can still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I know like a pretty friggin' general way of periodization, periodizing jump training is uh doing a strength cycle only focusing on strength, doing a power cycle only focusing on power, then doing an elastic cycle only focusing on elastic work like plyometrics, sprinting, jumping, all that sort of stuff, right? Or just heavily emphasizing those things, right? That's like a very, I guess, formal way of going about things, right? But the issue with going about it in that way is if you prioritize strength too much and you only focus on strength, what happens? The other qualities decondition. So you start getting less elastic, you start getting less powerful, and that's when you start to feel slow and sluggish, right?
Yeah.
When you do power work, only power work, then you start to lose strength and you're not developing elasticity, right?
Yeah.
So you start to lose those qualities, right? If you only do elastic work, then your strength drops through that period, and then you're only focusing like on elastic work, right? So you're losing strength, you're losing the total amount of force you can produce, and you're losing that quality, right? Which isn't ideal, right? You want to
Mhm.
at least, if you're going to emphasize the quality, you want to at least maintain those qualities, right? Like at least maintain them. So like a better way to go about it is if you're focusing on strength, is to ensure you're maintaining your power and your elasticity at the same time. Or if you're focusing on power, you want to at least ensure you're maintaining your strength and elasticity at the same time. Or if you're focusing on elastic work, you want to at least ensure you're maintaining your strength and power at the same time as well, right?
Yeah.
But the other issue with that as well, even if you're doing a strength, power, and elastic cycle where you're still focusing on maintaining those things, right? Even if you're going about it in that sort of way, right? In my opinion, it's still too strict because, like what you were saying, Tom, for
Mhm.
99% of people, it takes far longer than 1 month to develop an adequate amount of strength. most people when they're first starting out, they're gonna need to focus on strength for fucking a year or more. So it doesn't
Yeah.
make sense to just do, oh yeah, strength, power, elastic, and then just fucking repeat that. It doesn't make sense, right? Every athlete needs to emphasize and focus on different things, right? So that's where training needs to be personalized depending on the athlete, on what their weakness is and what needs to be emphasized, right? And that's how we approach all our training with our athletes, right? If an athlete is already super elastic and that's a great strength for them, yeah, we'll aim to maintain that, but we're not gonna fucking, you know, give them 3 elastic cycles in a row or just
Yeah.
do the typical strength power because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't really apply to them. It's not working on their weakness enough, right? So that's where I'm getting at, where like that sort of strict sort of periodization model doesn't might make sense in some situations, but in what we do in terms of dunk specific training, it doesn't make sense, right?
Hmm.
Like for me, I'll use an example. If I just did 3 strength cycles in a row, or I just only focused on strength, I wouldn't jump higher. I would just get slow as shit, feel sluggish, and yeah, I'd get fucking strong, but I wouldn't necessarily jump higher relative to how strong I am. Because I'm naturally a slow twitch guy. Like
Yeah.
I need to ensure I have enough elastic and speed and power work in my training to ensure that strength actually translates. So for me, it doesn't really ever make sense for me to do like a training cycle that's purely focused on strength only. Doesn't really make sense for me. And then there's other athletes that are in the reverse situation, right? Where it doesn't make sense for them to only do an elastic. Like for you, Tom, would you do 3 months of focusing on elastic work and
Fuck
speed
no.
work?
No
Why?
way. Just naturally, I definitely am like faster twitch, more elastic, just like based on, you can just see the way I jump. Like, I haven't sprinted 100 meters in, 2, 3 years, but I guarantee I'd run like a low 11, high 10.
Yeah, because it's a high hanging fruit for you.
Exactly. Whereas, like, I know if I got my squat, if I was repping 200 kilos, then fuck, I'd probably be jumping 50 inches right now.
Yeah. So that's just one example, guys, like where like training needs to be heavily personalized to the athlete because
Mm.
every athlete is going to need to emphasize different things because every athlete has different genetics, different training backgrounds, different life situations, right? And this is part of the reason why at JumpX we don't just fucking give out programs. We actually do coaching as well because like for these reasons, it's how you get the best results. Like it's what you need to do if you want to progress long term in your training.
Mm.
You know, it's like uh we're talking to a particular someone. I was talking to a particular someone this week, very high level jumper, and I was like, look, bro, if you literally just do 6 months to a year emphasizing, strength and power work heavily and just improve those qualities, then your vert's gonna like skyrocket because he's already crazy elastic
Yeah.
and efficient in terms of his jump technique.
I'm just trying to think who you're talking about, but so many
Yeah.
people
Yeah,
category.
yeah, but it doesn't matter. Like I know it doesn't matter, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of in a similar situation to you, Tom, you know?
Hmm.
So, um, yeah, man. Like even doing even doing like a hypertrophy focus cycle. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
For who? Again, it always comes back to for who, whom, whomst.
Or say someone needs to develop hypertrophy.
Okay, well, I think and this is for jumping, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, you can go ahead and do that, but don't make it the only thing you're doing. Don't like start training like a bodybuilder. Yeah, you can do some like accessories in here and there, or play with the rep and set scheme. But you still want to make sure you've got stuff in there that's gonna allow you to still maintain other qualities as well. So
Yeah,
5 days a week, I'm going to be doing squats, hack squats, leg extensions, and then cut all your jumping out, cut all your sprinting out, and just become like fucking slow as shit.
but even then, yeah, but even then, it takes a little bit to build muscle, right? So someone that needs to develop hypertrophy, say they're super skinny,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna need to incorporate a little bit of hypertrophy work into their training for like fucking months to years.
Years, bro. Yeah.
You know? So that's where it's like in that situation, it's not even necessary to do like one hypertrophy cycle. You would just kind of do normal strength, power, elastic type training, but just incorporate aspects of hypertrophy training within that, you know?
Yeah, we've had athletes both ways, bro. Like we've had someone like, Tobias. So I think Tobias really would benefit from, like a hypertrophy, focus cycle. But then Austin coached a guy named Jeff, and he was a sprinter. And if you gave him like one set extra, too much upper body, he would get like way too big, just so quickly.
Yeah, because it was a sprinter, like it just fucking
He would pile up, bro.
overpower everything. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It just build muscle like insanely easily. Like he'll drink a protein shake and then he'll gain like 5 kilos
Yeah,
of lean muscle tissue, you know?
not even his.
So, hey, where other guys, they're gonna like kill themselves for like 6 months straight to gain to build muscle, you know?
Me, bro.
Hey,
I think that might be me, bro.
no, there's other things at play there.
Yeah,
But even then, like the emphasis of training will need to will change as time goes on as well, right? Like you might have this perfect plan in place, but then you get 6 months in or like a month in, and you realize, oh shit, this plan doesn't make sense anymore. It doesn't apply anymore. So you planned out all this training perfectly, but then you get 6 months or a month in or 2 months in, and then it doesn't make sense anymore because the situation has completely changed.
then you're cooked.
Hey?
Then you're cooked. You got
Like that's
nothing.
happened to me like so many times. Like I'll plan out, periodize my training, and I'm like, oh, then I get to the month where I'm supposed to do this cycle, and I'm like, oh fuck, this doesn't even make sense to me anymore. Like I don't need, I need to focus on this other thing.
Yeah, I think a lot
It's,
of people. Like, it is fun to sit down and be like, so 3 months down the line, I'm gonna be doing this, this, and this, but like,
yeah,
you don't know what's gonna happen even next week. Fuck.
yeah, you could blow your back out, but blow your back out, and you're like, fuck, I can't.
Um,
Like,
yeah,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah. No, it's crazy. It's crazy. Um, so yeah, so that's another thing, right? That's what kind of it's like jump training. It's like what's the right word? It needs to be like flexible
right.
in a way, right? Ever evolving, ever changing. Like, uh, what's a good word? I'm trying to think of. Like, it needs to be like fluid in a
Mm,
sense, you know?
yeah.
Like, um, like you might do a month and then you know, you get to the end of the month and then you need to focus on this thing or you need to keep focused on the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Like sometimes, like say for strength, right? Sometimes there's no strict time frame because you can't predict uh how long you're going to need to do it for roughly and how long it's going to take to get to the level you know you need to be at, you know?
Yeah.
For example, or like for me, like I might emphasize strength for like a month and I'm like, oh shit, I'm actually not jumping any higher, I'm jumping lower, so I need to go back to emphasizing other things, you know?
You don't know how long you're gonna take to respond to stuff. Like that's
That
literally.
yeah, yeah, there's that factor as well. Like sometimes it takes me like a month to super compensate from like one training cycle.
Yeah. No, actually, that is true. I've seen that in you especially. Like it's always after like a strength cycle for you. isn't it?
Yeah.
And you'd be like jumping bad, and then all of a sudden you're like, why am I jumping good? But it's actually months and months before.
Yeah, sprinting's hell fatigue as well.
Yeah.
I found that's
Well,
hella fatiguing. Like I even players like sometimes like just looking back, sometimes like I would start doing plyometrics or like heavily doing like way more plyometrics and I won't see those adaptations for like 8 to 12 weeks. And
mhm,
then all of a sudden I just start jumping good.
yeah. It's actually it's annoying, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's so
people.
much nuance to these things and it's like that's where like with training, it's part science, part art form
Mhm,
as well. Like that's where people that speak in absolutes, it's like you just can't do that.
yeah, yeah.
You literally can't do that.
Obi-Wan said, bro. Obi-Wan said, "Sith only a Sith deals in absolutes." So unless you're a Sith, you want to be a Jedi in this training. Balanced.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to be open to all ideas at all times. You can't be like, oh, this is the only way, or you have to be doing these things. Like it's not true. Everyone's gonna be like fucking different, respond to things differently. You know, that's the
Yeah.
thing. It's like constant testing and measuring. You don't respond to the same things I respond to. What gets me jumping high doesn't get you jumping high, and vice versa.
Hmm.
What gets some of our athletes jumping high doesn't get others jumping high. Gets them feeling shit and jumping low.
Yep.
And there's also another thing to that as well, is in terms of the training volumes. Everyone's training volumes are going to need to be different. Not everyone can handle the same amount of training. Some people are going to need more training. Some people are going to need less training to get the same outcomes
Hmm.
and intensities as well in terms of the weights they're moving.
Yeah. Well,
So that's just these are just all reasons where like um yeah man.
good thing everyone's programs are different then.
Yeah. Yeah. Needs to be everyone's program literally needs to be different to
Yeah.
get the
Well.
same outcomes because everyone's just so different, you know.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, is there any more you want to touch on there? Any more you want to add on there? Like what
N-
have you had any sort of other experiences like with your training
Not so
or
much with my.
training or training some of our athletes? Like have you noticed in terms of
Oh.
that?
Oh yeah. No. Of course, we're training our athletes. I can name off a lot of guys who like, depending on who they are,
Well, you
they're
don't
training.
need to name names, but just
Saying like
yeah.
their training looks so different, and like even if they're similar in terms of what they respond to, the actual volumes you give them is so different because maybe some guy doesn't recover as well as another one, but that might not just be genetic. It might be because they work a physical job, or they're like prone to not getting good sleep or whatever. Like there's actually so many factors. You can't just be like, okay, you know these three guys in JumpX all need strength. Bang, here you go, same program. You know.
Nah, nah, exactly. Like we'll say A, B, and C athlete, right? So A athlete, say all three need to get stronger,
Okay.
right? But A athlete works 9 to 5 physical labor, right? B athlete works 9 to 5
That
uh
job.
desk job. C athlete works part-time and is free to train really hard most of the time. All
Okay. So
three of those programs will look a bit different,
yeah.
you know? And that's just like their job, for example, right? Say one of them's playing basketball. So the next one's not playing basketball, right?
Mhm.
And the next one, uh, like you said, it doesn't sleep the best. We know he's not sleeping the best, or he's not
Yeah.
managing the nutrition properly. You know,
Bro, there's
those
layers,
factors. Yeah,
there's
there's
layers,
like
and like
there's so many fucking layers to this shit, bro. And that's the thing, like that's the thing. Uh, I feel like we need to do a better job of like communicating this across to people because most people actually don't realize these things. We only realize these things, right? So
Yeah,
that's where I'm trying to do a better job on Instagram of like communicating these things to people because it's important and it all makes a big difference in terms of the results people get. Huge difference in terms of how often they get injured and all that sort of stuff. It impacts everything, you know. So
definitely, bro.
yeah,
I think that's good.
Uh,
That's and for sure.
yeah.
Good
All right,
examples.
all right. Well, if you guys are looking for training where it's gonna take care of all this stuff for you, we're gonna take care of all this stuff for you, right? So we don't have to do any of this thinking. You pretty much just do the work and you get results, and you know your training's gonna be catered, personalized to you, right? And you're looking to get coaching from us, send us a message on Instagram with the word podcast, right? So we know you're from come from here, and we'll be in touch and we'll look at getting you started. All right.
Yep. See you later then.